there was a time when you were out of the country and you couldn't come back?
Well, the Obama administration got very threatening, about the Snowden reporting. I don't know if you remember, but when the president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, went to Russia, where Snowden was, but they only went for a state meeting, just like a standard state meeting between heads of sovereign countries, the U.S. just had like an inkling that maybe his presidential plane was picking up Snowden to bring him back to Bolivia, and they downed the plane forcibly. I remember I went to the Russian consulate, I needed a Russian visa, I was going to Russia to see Snowden, and these Russians came out and they were like, look, I know why your government hates Snowden. We wouldn't allow, leaking of our secret information too, but downing the plane of our president, even to the Russians, they were like, I don't understand this.
They're kind of in a glass house there.
Yeah, they were, but I mean, it was really, it's really a step too far. And they, James Clapper and some Republican senators and Democratic members of Congress started openly talking about not just prosecuting Snowden, but also the journalists who worked with him, namely myself and Laura. And, we would call up the Justice Department, our lawyers would, and say, is it safe for them to come back? And they would say, we can't guarantee that safety. So Laura was in Germany working on Citizen4 and the rest of the stories. She wouldn't leave Germany and I couldn't leave Brazil because the US government was being very menacing. And we only came back once the Pulitzers happened. And we figured the US government doesn't want the black eye publicity putting in prison two people who just won the Pulitzers for reporting.
Wow, it's incredible. So flash forward now, that's 2013, 7 years later, you've left The Guardian, you've started your own outlet called The Intercept. It's your concoction, your creation, your vision, and you're making it happen. You're publishing news the way you want it done. And there comes a clash that leads to you leaving the very journalistic organization you founded because they wouldn't let you report honestly on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why it was so amazing was when we started The Intercept, and it was myself and Laura Poitras and another investigative journalist, Jeremy Scahill, all of whom had done battle with the deep state and done reporting of that kind. The idea was we want to start a completely nonpartisan media outlet that is adversarial to people in power, especially to the agencies that don't get nearly enough journalistic attention and scrutiny. I think a lot of corporate media outlets were very captive to these agencies, subservient to them, and they exercise great power. And so the idea was we're going to start a media outlet that has no ideology or partisan affiliation. And it worked for a while, and then Donald Trump came in 2016, and we did a lot of reporting on the emails that were released from Hillary Clinton through WikiLeaks, because it revealed a lot of incriminating information about this very powerful politician who was the front runner for the 2016 election. And I think our editors, who were all kind of liberals, we hired editors. I wanted to do the journalism, not sit in HR meetings and budget meetings. I wanted to do journalism. They were all liberals in Brooklyn, but they figured, let them go, reporting on Hillary. She's going to win anyway. And then Trump won. And all their friends said, what is wrong with you? You helped Trump win. You did negative reporting on Hillary. And I remember the night of the election, we had these virtual newsrooms where everyone gathered, and someone said, our coverage, everybody was crying. People were crying. These were journalists crying. I mean, sad tears. And somebody came and said, our coverage was very misogynistic and we need to publicly apologize.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, go work for the Democratic Party. We're not apologizing for anything. This is our job. This is our role. And then in 2020, I knew the Hunter Biden laptop documents were authentic from the beginning because I had a lot of experience working on big archives. Yeah. The Snowden archive, WikiLeaks. I had a big reporting in Brazil that involved a large archive. And
also the pictures made it pretty clear.
The way journalists authenticate archives, yes, the pictures were pretty authentic and pretty good proof. But the archive has emails written to 5 people. And you go to one of the people on the email chain and you say, show me in your phone this email that you got in real time. And they show it to you and it matches word for word what's in the archive. That's how journalists authenticate. So I knew for sure this archive, and I wanted to report on it. I wanted to get the documents, write about it, because Joe Biden was a major presidential candidate. And my editors, when they realized that I was working on it, came and said, according to the FBI, this is Russian disinformation. And remember, this was a news outlet founded to be adversarial to these security state agencies, and they were telling me, according to the FBI, as though that's gospel, the Biden FBI, this is Russian disinformation. I said, it's so obvious these materials are real, but I knew, they said, there's no way we can allow you to publish this because the material isn't verified. The government claims it's fake.
Wow.
And I didn't start a media outlet to be told what I can and can't report. And I knew their motives were not journalistic, but political, and I left.
You left your own organization.
Yeah, I had to quit my own organization because if I can't report on major political candidates because editors want to manipulate the outcome of our politics in one way or another, why would I stay? I can't do what I want to do, much as my job. And that became a reflection of the media writ large. They renounced completely their journalistic function, would have said or done anything to get Donald Trump defeated. That's what Russiagate was. And then that's what the lie about the Hunter Biden laptop was. They were petrified about what it showed about Joe Biden, so they were willing to lie about it. These are journalists.
Yeah.
And
they're still lying about it to this day.
To this day, they don't admit that. They can't admit it because they were all so invested in it.
Well, it's like watching, first Kamala, now Karine Jean-Pierre on these book tours, and the dishonest media, letting them get away with. I only saw him for a brief time. I barely saw him on the plane over the way to the debate, so I didn't know he wasn't feeling well that night. Like, every word of that is a lie.
She was the White House press secretary.
Yes, you were in the White House with him daily for years. You knew he was infirm. You covered it up. It wasn't about the plane ride over to the debate. But these same journalists were in on the whole thing, so they have to give her a pass. It's a dishonest setup.
I'm sure you remember, and this was, there's so many different events that made me realize the depth of depravity and just deceit within our profession. And we watched Joe Biden on these videos, even before that debate night in France, and then having to be let off the stage by Obama. And I remember to this day, the Washington Post, the New York Times published stories saying the American right or conservatives are using, and they invented this new term. It was
Sheep fakes?
Sheep fakes.
Sheep fakes, yeah.
Where it was supposed to be defined as the video is real, but the context is somehow distorted.
Right.
And one of the things they said that about was the night when Obama led Biden off the stage because he didn't know where he was.
Yeah, you guys remember that video, right? They were at that fundraiser, and Biden was kind of wandering, and Obama grabbed him by the hand, put his hand around his back, and kind of shepherded him off.
He had those vacant eyes that he always had, where am I?
Yes.
And the whole media said, oh, you're lying. That's not. He was totally present. All the Democrats said he was president, and it turns out George Clooney, of course, after the election is over, admitted that when he wrote that New York Times op-ed calling for Biden to withdraw from the race, it was because on that night, even before that thing happened, he saw that there was no more Joe Biden, that there was just, a
but
vacant.
He kept it to himself until
and let
after
the media
debate.
call everybody who saw it liars.
Yes, George Clooney is a dishonest hack who's like a pretend wannabe journalist who's not even really very good at acting, never mind at journalism anymore. But exactly. They kept the secret amongst themselves until it was outed by Joe Biden himself. And I have to tell you, I've been thinking about the Joe Biden mental infirmity lately because I think so much of what we're dealing with right now as a country is directly linked to that. I mean, I am very much in favor of the full-fledged investigation into exactly how it went down. Because Joe Biden, he was a leftist, of course, but he wasn't one of these far, far leftists. He was always a little bit more moderate. He had been close to a blue dog
The left hated
Democrat.
him. The real left hated Joe Biden.
They hated Joe Biden, exactly right. But he was tough on crime. He wasn't pro an open border.
Very pro-Israel.
Wasn't woke.
No, not woke, very pro-corporation.
Yes.
The left hated Joe Biden.
So the behavior that Joe Biden brought into office from day one was anomalous to the man that we had come to know as a legislator, as a U.S. senator. And I firmly believe the reason we have now an extra 11 million illegals is because of his mental infirmity. Someone in that White House had an agenda that did not match his, and that's who made those decisions. We still don't know the answer to that.
You look at so many media lies, Russiagate, the Hunter Biden laptop, all the lies about COVID. But to me, this is by far the biggest scandal because you have somebody who is in charge of the nuclear codes, someone who can start wars or end wars, somebody who makes decisions that affect the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans, billions of people on the planet, the world economy. And he was incapable of making those decisions. And I remember saying in real time, all the time, yes, it's a political scandal that people are lying about Joe Biden's mental state, but the bigger question is, who's running the government?
Who is in charge?
Who's making these very consequential decisions?
And I say person after person taking the fifth in the context of this investigation into them, including his own personal doctor. It's very sketchy, and I truly think we need answers on that. Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.